All right, so the question, I guess, is am I happy after losing 100 pounds? Uh, for those of you guys new to the channel, welcome. I started this channel to document some of my general thoughts on losing 100 pounds and my life after losing 100 pounds and what I went through losing 100 pounds, and so on and so forth. And I received an interesting question on one of my videos. Somebody basically said, well, not really a question, a comment, basically said, implying in a negative way that you don't you don't look happy. You look like you lost 100 pounds and you're still depressed. I talked about my depression before I lost weight, and somebody made that comment, so I thought it would be a really good discussion point because I'm not going to dive deep into the commentary and you know psychoanalyze or guess what anybody was thinking. But the actual topic, am I happy now that I lost 100 pounds, I think is an interesting one. I think it's worth discussing because anybody that gains a lot of weight invariably finds themselves in a position where they aren't satisfied. I mean, most of us, I hate to generalize, but most of us aren't happy, don't like the way things are. I think it's kind of a human condition in general, and that, goes without saying, there's always something we aren't happy about, but that doesn't mean, we're depressed. You know what I'm saying? There's degrees, it's a spectrum of severity. And before I dive into that, I want to say my wife is a seamstress and she's putting on a fashion show with an Australian collection. She's an Australian. So that's why the wacky stuff is behind me. When I was 346 pounds, I was very, very depressed. What was the severity of that depression? I felt lost. It wasn't beyond that. I felt like this is my life. It's a grind. This is all there is. I felt so lost that I just was not happy. I had some happy things in my life. I had two wonderful daughters. I was able to write for a living, and I was on my way to being self-employed. So there were things I was happy about. And I think this is important to discuss because, a lot of times on social media, or really in life, when you talk about happiness, it gets treated like some sort of a black and white type of scenario where you're either happy or you're not happy, or if you're not happy, you're in a very dark place. You know what I'm saying? I was not in that place, but I was very, very unhappy. When I was 45 is about when I got up to 346 pounds. And I just felt like so detached. Like, this is the rest of my life. This is all life is. I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to be a husband. I'm just going to work. I'm going to grind. I feel detached from my hobbies and interests. And I'm just going to spend the rest of my life just taking care of people. This is all there is. And it just felt miserable. And I felt lost. And I was pretty much eating myself to death. But that wasn't my purpose. Like, I'm going to eat myself to death. That's just how it was. In losing 100 pounds, one of the things I talk about is that there is kind of a physical transformation, and then there can also be a mental transformation. I lost 100 pounds, and I ended up physically looking like a completely different person. I just did. It wasn't my intention. I've always been into fitness and lifting weights, but when I started to take care of myself with food, I wasn't thinking like I'm going to make a dramatic body transformation. That wasn't anywhere in my mind. I couldn't even begin to guess where I would end up. And it wasn't a goal. My goal was just to lose weight and take care of myself because I was in pretty bad health. So I ended up in a completely different place after losing 100 pounds, and I'll flip my transformation up here. But I didn't expect that to happen. And during a transformation, you go through varying phases depending on the transformation. You'll notice people start to treat you a little bit differently, and you pick up a little bit of confidence, and you start to, gain a little bit of confidence, and maybe start to put you know, a better part of yourself forward. You maybe present yourself a little bit better because you feel a little bit better. I started to feel a little bit better in clothing, and I noticed when I was wearing normal clothes, and not super loose clothes, that it was even a greater impact. People would say you look better. But I had to go through a mental transformation after my physical transformation. And in many, many ways, I think that was a lot harder. And during that mental transformation, I think some of it was just self-exploration. Who am I now? Who am I now? Because my weight had defined me. And now that I lost 100 pounds, I kind of am defined a little bit differently. And like, who am I now? So, what does this have to do with being happy? I think there was a transformation period where I felt relief after losing the 100 pounds, and I felt a lot of those burdens go away. And with that process, I ended up getting divorced, and this video isn't about that, but being able to take care of myself and balance things between self-care and taking care of others. I started to feel better mentally and physically, but it's on a spectrum. You don't like immediately feel happy about everything. You still feel insecure in a lot of ways. You still feel like that inner fat guy. So it was a transformation. And when somebody asks me now, "Are you happy?" I have a wonderful life. If it wasn't for this step in trying to take care of myself, both mentally and physically, and if you've watched any of my other videos, it wasn't about I'm going to be selfish and ignore everybody. It was about going from a person that was all about taking care of others, the dad, the husband, whatever, to finding time to also take care of myself and put myself forward to the point where I could rebalance my life. So that did make me a lot happier. And that led me to starting my own business and moving for work and so many wonderful things. My life is so different in the last 12 years. I'm not somebody to toss around the word blessed, but I feel so incredibly blessed with the life I have. I have 5 wonderful dachshunds. I have a wife I adore. I have a dream life. I have a successful small business. And none of this could have occurred if I hadn't started taking care of myself. So am I happy? Yeah, I'm freaking happy. I could die now, and I would say I'm happy. Are there always rough edges? Absolutely. Do I carry around some melancholy occasionally from my childhood? And I made a video about my dad being a violent alcoholic. Of course, in ways I don't even understand. Sometimes it's there, but this whole light switch idea that we're either happy or unhappy. Am I happy? Yeah, I'm happy. Is anybody ever perfectly happy? No, nobody is perfectly happy. There's always things I want to improve and work on. But yeah. My life is a lot better now than when I was 100 pounds heavier. And so many things I'm thankful for. And I guess the only final word for me, if you're watching this, is, don't put pressure on yourself. It's okay to be in process. In process means I'm just going to take a step forward every day. I don't need to live up to someone's standard of how I should live and how I should be, or their pressure. Are you happy? Are you not happy? You lost 100 pounds. You don't look happy. We don't know anything about each other. But we have to allow each other to be in to have the freedom to be in process, and allow people to have that space to be in process. And for any of you that are trying to lose weight or just get your life back on track, just know it's okay. It's okay to be you. It's okay to have feelings that you aren't satisfied or you're confused or you're unhappy about in certain things, and you don't have to feel shame about it. You really, really don't. And those out there in life that are trying to make you feel shame about maybe you don't look happy in a picture or you don't look happy up to their standards, usually it's just some form of projection or resentment or something like that. Take care of yourselves. I wish you guys all the best. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.